Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are here once again. It's the AGAPE Christian Center Hour, and we are on the air. Tonight we have some special guests for you that you can get some important information. But first, let me give you a few announcements. While you run to tell somebody, get a friend. You know, if that company is still there from Thanksgiving, bring them in and sit down so that you can listen to BBS Gospel Net. But let everyone know that you are listening to BBS Gospel Net. We are on the air with the Agape Christian Center today. On Monday night, every Monday night, we are right here. Now, for our church information, we can be reached at Agape WM on your Facebook page. Everybody loves Facebook, so we can be reached on Facebook. Like us, we will return. We will accept you. We will return your life. Also, you can reach our bishop at Bishop Lawrence Vaughn at yahoo.com if you just want to email us, or call our church number. Our church number is 870-702-7008. And our pastor will always love to hear from you on his personal cell number, which is 901-217-1727. That's 901-217-1727. And don't forget, you can always come by the church. We are located at 1823 East Broadway in the city of West Memphis, Arkansas. And our services are held every Sunday morning service, which is our Sunday school, at 9 a.m. Our regular Sunday morning service is held at 10 a.m. Then Wednesday night is our Bible class, where you really get down to the nuts and grinds of everything. And that's held every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. And this year we will be having our Christmas morning service at 8 a.m. on Christmas morning. So you can come by, and get a little meat for the soul before you decide to get that Christmas morning breakfast. And just hear what the Lord has, since this is the reason for the season. That's what they always say, the reason for the season. But we know that don't have to be a reason just to have Christ in your life. Don't forget, you can reach us at our church number at 870-702-7008. That's our church number. Or you can always hit us up on Facebook. Facebook is Agape WM. And you can believe we will return it. And I think you're going to enjoy what you hear. Now, tonight we have our special guest, who is Mr. Shabaka Afrika of the local NAACP, and Mr. Hubert Bass from the Crittenden County Quorum Court. And they're going to tell you some pregnant information about our new hospital. Well, not new hospital. Let me rephrase that. I'm just trying to get the hospital. But I'm going to let them talk to you about that, because they have all the information that you will need to know. Now, the next voices that you will hear will be that of Mr. Shabaka Afrika and Mr. Hubert Bass.
Good evening, Ms. Gale, and thank you for that introduction. First of all, we'd like to thank Bishop Vaughn and the Agape Christian Center family for, again, allowing us to come before you in an effort to provide you with some information. The scripture tells us that the people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So we don't want you destroyed because you didn't know. So our main effort here is to provide information on which you can develop what we call critical thinking. I am the president of the Crittenden County NAACP, and as many of you know, the purpose of the NAACP is equal protection under the law and due process. And in order for those things to occur, the people need to be informed. And again, one of the main efforts of the NAACP since my leadership team has been in place is to get out information. Many of you followed us on Facebook at our View WM NAACP. That's And we have endeavored to provide our public with information. Sometimes people have been a little bit annoyed at us for our critical analysis, but it's our responsibility to tell that truth. We want to tell the truth and shame the devil, and because we don't like the devil, and we always want that devil exposed, and so we believe that the best way to expose that devil is to bring you the truth. Now, if we bring you the truth to expose that devil, and you don't take heed, well, it says some of us have more in common with the devil than we may think. Tonight's guest is Mr. Hubert Bass. Justice Hubert Bass. Justice Bass is a member of the Quorum Court. That's the Crittenden County Quorum Court, which in Tennessee and other states would be very similar to county commission. That is your county legislative body. And again, the Quorum Court is to the county very much the same as the city council is to the city. We encourage you to get more involved in understanding the political process because you are affected. We're going to talk tonight about voting. We're going to talk about voter apathy. We're going to talk about voter fraud. And we want to make sure that as we come up on this next election season, that you again are informed. There's a lot of talk and a lot of buzz about the absentee voter process, and I'm sure you are aware that we've had a number of people in Crittenden County to be indicted and by the federal government and even charged by the state for election fraud. We want to make sure that you don't fall in a trap because it is a crime punishable by prison and huge fines to be involved in defrauding people of the precious right of voting. Dr. King and many of the people in the 50s and 60s worked diligently. Many lost their lives, were beaten, lost their jobs, and otherwise had their life outcomes negatively affected because they simply wanted the right to vote. We don't want to, in 2015, disrespect the efforts of those brothers and sisters who worked all those years to get us that right to vote, and then we just turn around and don't vote, or we sell our votes for vodka and beer and chicken and ribs. And of course, the way I say it is a little funny, but it really isn't funny. But as you know, here a few years ago, we found that a lot of the people here in Crittenden County were selling their votes for a ride in a limo or a few little perks, and we had a number of our black elected officials selling out the black community because that's the only community they were selling out. And many lost their jobs, lost their elected positions, lost their right to do and involve themselves in governmental contracts because of that. And we're going to make sure that this year that you don't fall victim of that. And if you do, it'll be of your own choosing. We can warn you about the devil. But if you choose to run in the briar patch with the devil, well, then that's going to be on you. And you're going to get some stickers in your behind. Yes. So anyway, we got Mr. Bass here. One of the things that we want to talk about is responsibility of governing. The unfortunate thing is that a lot of people assume political leadership as well as civic leadership, even in their churches and in organizations like the NAACP, as a way to enhance their own wealth. And because many of you know that we've been in a war for the last 5 years against some corrupt entities within our own organization. And of course, most organizations have some people in there that are just not doing the right thing, and again, we think that ought to be called out. Now, we've had a number of people that suggest to us, well, you ought to just leave that alone. Well, we can't do that. We can expect justice from the outside if we are practicing injustice from the inside. And so we believe the truth will make you free. We believe in God, and we believe in the Word of God, and we believe that the only way that one demonstrates a true belief in the Word of God is when one makes a tangible application of that Word. Other than that, you're just talking. So anyway, we know that we elect city council people, we elect school board members, we elect people to our county legislature, which I just told you that we call the Quorum Court, and the members of the Quorum Court are called the Justice of the Peace, and the person that presides over those Quorum Court meetings is what's called a county judge. He's not a true judge in the legal sense. Usually unless it's a land dispute, you wouldn't be going to our county judge for any legal dispute. But we got Justice Bass here, who I've known for several years, who is probably, in my estimation, probably the smartest and the most competent of all the lawmakers that I've ever met. And that's whether at the local or state or even national level. Most of the people that I have met over my 30-odd years of being involved in this whole conversation, most have been either inept or corrupt, usually both. One white friend of mine who is a political leader here in Crittenden County, and I won't mention his name, he said that black people run for office for money, whites run for power and get the money later. And the unfortunate thing is I have found that to be true. Now, that's not necessarily inherent that black people are necessarily crooked, but it simply says is that we've not evolved politically as a group to develop and support honorable people who operate as representatives for the needs of our communities. And it's unfortunate that he said that, but in fact it was true. I can tell you this, that Mr. Bass is an exception to that. As a matter of fact, this same white gentleman suggested that Mr. Bass was one of the few black leaders that he knew that was capable of actually being mayor of West Memphis and holding some of these other positions. And I happen to agree. Now, let me say this, as the president of NAACP, I cannot endorse a candidate, but I can certainly point out when someone has displayed a level of competency as Mr. Bass has, and so we take our hat off to him. People like Mr. Bass are few, and there is a great market for his skills and abilities, and he could be offered a lot of money for his skills, but he offers them back to the community as a servant of the people and as a servant of the Most High. And so we appreciate his being here. One of the things that we want to talk about is the role of government. If you are governing, there are some things that you must be doing. You have to provide for health care. You have to provide for commerce. You have to provide police care, education. These are some of the basic things that anyone who is a political leadership position must do. And what we've seen in our communities particularly, this has not been done. We are in a county with 55,000 people. We don't have a hospital. Now, how did we get to that? How did we get to a point in history where a county with 55,000 people does not have a hospital? When you look right up the road at Mississippi County, which is probably not much more than half the size, they got 2 hospitals, Bishop Vaughn. Mississippi County has 2 hospitals. They've got a hospital in Osceola. They've got a hospital in Blytheville. And Crittenden County, 55,000, has no hospital. Now, that shows a weakness. When we have to raise sales taxes, and let me say, I did support the sales tax this last time, because even though I think that when you raise the sales tax, you're sending a message that we failed to govern. Because if governing had been done properly, we would have attracted industry. We would have attracted the kind of industry that would have increased our consumer base, which would have naturally increased our tax revenue to where we wouldn't need that. But we did, and so here we are. But even after passing a 1-cent sales tax, we do not have a hospital. Explain to me why that is. So we're going to have Mr. Bass here. He's going to talk to us a little bit tonight about his efforts. And I have been privy to some of the things that he's been trying to do in trying to bring a hospital to Crittenden County. Now the question is, now we've got State Senator Keith Ingram. We've got people like Mayor Little Billy Johnson and various other leaders or so-called leaders. And on their watch, we lost our hospital. On the watch of these men, we lost our hospital. Now, one of the things that I know, and I can speak candidly, most of our black leaders are in these guys' pocket. Most of the black leadership in Crittenden County, unfortunately, many of the ministers are in these 2 guys' pocket. Now, how is it that these 2 men who were part of the hospital board, along with another 13 or so, and by the way, there were no black members on that board, not a single member of the board. And when I asked the question, about why are there no black members on the board that show a proper demographic representation of race and ethnicity. The president of the board said to me, I didn't know we were doing a quota, which was extremely insulting, but it demonstrates the level of entitlement that some of these people have. So we've lost our hospital, and unless somebody knows something I don't know, aside from Mr. Bass and a few of us that are assisting him, I don't know of any effort, at least one that has been made public, of any efforts to get a hospital in there, either to sell the one that we've got or to bring in a management team and run the one that we have. And so what I can tell you is that one of the principal failures of government is no medical facility. In a city of 55,000 people, we've got people dying trying to get across the bridge to get to the hospital. It's unconscionable. It's uncivilized. We can't call ourselves a civilized society and we can't educate our children and take care of our health needs. We just cannot do that. And so shame on you, leaders, for allowing our hospital to fail in the first place, and shame on you for not working with the rest of the community for helping us get in one now. Mr. Bass, can you tell our viewers what your ideas are? What have you been doing? We talked briefly, I think, a few weeks ago on this show about going to Blaavo.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that and tell us, what has been done since then from your end?
Okay, well, let me back up a little bit about those elected leaders who were implicated in voter fraud. Some of them pled guilty, some of them were found guilty. I think maybe all of them even pled guilty to voter fraud. What was interesting is those political leaders that pled guilty to voter fraud and defrauding the people all had a chance to support a Human and Civil Rights Commission that would have looked out for the rights of the people. Now I know why they couldn't do that, because they were violating the people's civil rights. And some of those people are still in, at least one of those people still in political office that pled guilty to violating your rights. To the hospital, I'll say this.
You mentioned that. We're going to get back to that before we throw.
Well, yeah, I want to throw that in. But what's sad about this whole thing is that there doesn't seem to be an urgency from the county. This is a county issue. There's no urgency to provide a hospital. Now, myself, with you and others, have been to a delegation. I took a delegation up to Mississippi County, and we met on the 23rd, last Monday, with members or representatives from QHR Management Group, the same group who manages the Mississippi County hospitals. QHR.
That's Quorum
Health Resources, yeah. So we had a good meeting, and let me say this: we are going to meet with them again once we get some more information real soon, and this will be presented before the Quorum Court formally once we put the plan together to try to influence members of the Quorum Court to at least bring in a management group and manage the hospital. Even and the thing before we even get to that is these people are going to give us a cost assessment about how much it would cost to actually open the hospital and run the hospital.
A feasibility study.
A feasibility study. So I'm looking forward to that. And as you know, I chair the Economic Development Committee, and I will be bringing that information to the Economic Development Committee for the Quorum Court and putting it on the table for the committee and then recommend it back to the court once we get all of that information. And as you know, we've been doing some things behind the scenes as well. We usually put most of our things out on Facebook, but we also looking at behind the scenes if we can get a buyer for the hospital. So if that happens, fine. If we can get a buyer in to buy the hospital and reopen the hospital. So we're looking at all avenues, from managing it, becoming a county-operated facility, to possibly getting a buyer to reopen.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. And one of the things that people need to know, just because you're not an elected official, it doesn't mean that you don't have the responsibility or you have the right to go out and talk to industry, to go out and talk to people like the hospital representatives about coming in, because this is your community too. It's you that might need that medical care. It's your uncle or your mother or your sister, your brother, your child. So each of us has a right to go out and talk to anyone who you think that needs to come into this county to make this county a better place to live, and then you can present your case before the quorum court. You know, learn who your quorum court, your JP member is. Go to your JP member and say, hey, we need a hospital. What are you doing to get a hospital? If you got a member of the JC, of the quorum court, if you got a city council person, if you've got people in those responsible positions, if they're not about trying to get a hospital in here, which is the thing that we need at the moment the worst, then you need to get somebody else in that position. Maybe you need to run for it yourself. You know, as I always say, you know, most of us go to church. They say that over half of the people in the country go to church, African Americans. I would submit to you that probably here in Curtin County, there's a number greater than that. You know, go to your pastor, go before your deacon board and say, hey, we need to develop a political action committee, one that can keep our people in our churches and in our community abreast of what's going on politically. And to the extent that it affects our lives and our life outcomes, we need to be engaged. And when somebody tells you, well, you know, that's not what I'm supposed to do, I'm in church, listen. The Word of God was designed to empower the human condition. Everything that affects your life can be measured by the Word of God. And if your conditions are lacking and you believe it's not your responsibility to do something about that, then you are sorely mistaken. And you need to go back and study your scripture again. Last week, when we were actually the meeting last week was at Africa Books. And let me say this right now. Anybody interested in joining the Crittenden County NAACP, we'd be glad to talk to you. It's only $30 a year. You can call me at 870-735-1212. That's 870-735-1212. We can get you a membership form. Again, it's only $30 a year. You can reach me at shabaka50@aol.com. That's SHABAKA50@aol.com, and we also on Facebook. But we want to talk to you, but we want you to come in and be a part of the solution. You know, we have a lot of people that offer us advice, but they don't get out and do anything. And I always tell Mr. Bass is that for those people who don't want to do anything, I wish we had a law that says that you don't get to have an opinion, but that's not my call. But the thing that struck me, the gentleman, I can't remember his name, a bald-headed gentleman from Quorum.
Bob Vento.
Mr. Vento, on 3 different occasions, he looked, he said, you have 55,000 people. You don't have a hospital. We've got communities that only have 4,000 or 5,000 people. They have a hospital. How is it that Crittenden County, with 55,000 people, will not have a hospital? It's a failure of leadership. Now, it's just simply that, brothers and sisters. It is a failure of leadership. Mr. Bass, there has been some conversation about some other options. You were talking to these people about perhaps coming before the quorum court and providing them with a plan of how they could come in and manage the hospital while the county owns that hospital, which is the model that's going on in Mississippi County with 2 hospitals, one in Blava, one in Osceola, and they seem to be doing well. And unless there's some reasons that I'm not aware of, I don't know why we couldn't duplicate that here. But there are some other options. You mentioned the possibility of selling. I was approached by a gentleman from Memphis some time ago and said something about perhaps one of the hospital chains, maybe even Baptist, might be interested in buying that. Now, we know that when you and I spoke with Mr. Gene Cashman, which was the former CEO of Crittenden Regional Hospital, now defunct, we asked about that. He said, well, you know, with $30 million in debt and some of the other problems we got, you know, nobody wants to buy it. Well, since the debt's been dissolved, the debt has been dissolved.
Right, the bankruptcy has been
cleared. Which is what we recommended. It should have been done before to have saved the hospital, but maybe it was better that we didn't save it, because under the leadership of the former board, apparently it was being mismanaged. So I guess this is what had to happen. But what about selling that hospital? What do you think on that?
Well, I think it's a viable option if we have a major player, Methodist systems, Baptist healthcare system. These are major.
Like St. Francis.
Even St. Francis, which is tenant tenant corporation. Major citizens, because at that point, if they come in, I don't even think they would need the 1% sales tax for their use, because these are major systems with a lot of money. They could come in and purchase the hospital and open it up within weeks, probably.
Well, if they were to buy the hospital, why would we need a sales tax?
Well, we wouldn't.
Okay.
You know,
now you have
now,
a hospital now, Mr.
Vento.
We talked to him about, we have a hospital just right down the road. That's about 38, 40 miles down in Forest City. And we may be into a political problem now. These guys down there may want to fight the effort of our getting a hospital, because now Crittenden County has become a feeder for the hospital in Forest City, and that they're getting patients from here. So, and unfortunately, a lot of that stuff is about the money. But what do you have to say about that?
Well, that may be the case in Forest City. I'm not sure that's the case in Memphis, which I work in a local hospital in Memphis, and
That's right, you are a
respiratory therapist
Okay.
By trade. And a lot of the management at these different hospitals do not like the fact that they are receiving Arkansas patients because of pay issues, and it's a lot. I guess it's a lot of red tape and paperwork as far as getting paid, and a lot of people being uninsured and that kind of thing. So if you're on Arkansas Medicaid, Medicare, that kind of thing, well, then going to an Arkansas hospital probably is good for that Arkansas hospital, but not so much for Tennessee, because they have to go through a lot more bureaucracy to get their funding.
Now, I'm told from a lot of healthcare professionals that with the passage of the Affordable Health Care Act, better known as Obamacare, which has been so many people against it, the people in that industry seem to be glad about it, because that means that they can get paid for services that they used to have a problem collecting for.
And that's what I hear. And not only that, the turnaround time, the reimbursement time is a lot quicker now. Unfortunately, you still have a lot of people that are uninsured, and I treat a lot of people in ER. And while I'm down there, I hear the patient rep come down and ask them, about their insurance, and a lot of them, probably not quite 50% that I've heard, but a large percent are still uninsured with not even the Affordable Health Care Act insurance.
Well, it seems to me then that churches, local governments need to be more involved in trying to get out and get these people signed up, because it's a win-win for everybody.
Absolutely.
Since once they sign up, they provide subsidies for people that don't have money, and there are penalties for you if you don't sign up for the healthcare system. So you might as well get yourself covered, because only you're going to pay for that, and all of us are going to wind up paying for that. Again, if we go back to this man from Quorum, the health management resources, and he just kept shaking his head. You mean you got 55,000 people and you don't have a hospital? 50, and I don't know, I hadn't thought about it quite in those terms, but he thought it was just absolutely the craziest thing he'd ever heard of. We got all these people. Now listen, folks, and we've got all of us, most of us go to church, most of us claim to believe in God. Well, if you do, then the least thing you can do is make sure that your brother's health is taken care of. And every pastor, everybody that claims that they believe in right and wrong, which is what we say when we say we believe in God. I know some people don't understand that, but when you say you believe in God, what you're saying, you believe in some system of justice. Otherwise, again, you're just talking. You need to be out and getting involved and talking to your representatives, getting your pastors involved, getting your leaders involved, and talking about getting a hospital here. It's just unconscionable. The other thing that became clear, because we had a physician there at our meeting with the people they are from Nashville, Quorum, and he is a OBGYN.
Right. Dr. Chin.
That means he delivers babies.
Absolutely.
Well, if there's no hospital, he can't do the business. If you're a surgeon, you need a hospital. If you have a nursing school, as we have at our local, it used to be Miss South's Community College. I'm not sure what the name of it is now. It's merged with Arkansas State University, but they have a great nursing program out there, a great training facility for nurses. We don't have a hospital. So we're losing people. People are going to get up and leave. Some suggest that we have by not having a hospital, it affects our economy locally as much as $100 million a year. You know, we've got people who won't move here because we don't have a hospital. We've got companies that won't relocate here because we don't have a hospital. Can you imagine you wanted to lure intelligent, trained, professional people here and you don't have a school for their children to attend? Well, it's just about as bad by not having a hospital. It's crazy. So I understand why he kept saying, you got 55,000 people and you don't have a school. Think about that. You don't have a school. How crazy is that? That is a failure on the part of government. We have a city government and we have a county government. Why have they not acted? Now, let me ask you a question. I know that you've been talking about these things for several months now because I've been there with you and I've had a few comments to say myself. What do you think is going to happen when you go before the quorum court and try to get cooperation from other justices of the peace to help bring in a hospital? What do you think that position is going to be? Because I have to tell you, I have witnessed when you try to get things done, you have a lot of opposition just right out of the box, just because it's you. It's not going to look good for anybody in any position of leadership, either on city government, county government, to be against bringing in a hospital. Do you think that do you think we have the political will to do the right thing? Because obviously, we're not hearing from our state senator. We're not hearing from our mayor. I've really not heard much from the county judge. You mentioned to the county judge at I guess a couple of quorum court meetings ago about the possibility of the county retaining ownership, setting up what kind of account was that you were talking about?
Escrow account.
Setting up an escrow account to deal with losses and whatnot.
Right, absolutely.
And his response
was that would be his third choice. Is this what he said? He said that would be my third choice. Although now it seems to be clearly off the table for him. However, I would say that to the citizens to come out to the quorum court meetings. If you want that hospital, you're going to have to demand it. It is a county issue. You're going to have to come to the quorum court, pack it out, standing room only, because we don't, and I'm going to say not we, they don't have the political will to make the tough decisions to get the hospital. Now, to answer your question, I would think it is very sad to say this, but I think there will be opposition. Politically speaking, I think they would, my view is that they would probably say we can't fund it. We don't have enough money to fund it. Of course, I have a plan for that as well, because here's what we do know, that both of the ambulance owners, private ambulance owners here, have both said to me and to members of the quorum court that we're losing lives, trying to get people from Crittenden County. They can be as far out as Jeanette, Arkansas, trying to get to Memphis.
your home directors told you the same thing.
Yep, well, the county coroner just last month told me how many lives we're losing because of time. Because of time, you know, every second counts, and you don't have to be in the healthcare field to know that if you got pulmonary issues, you got heart issues, every second counts. So it would be best, even if it's an emergency that you would have to be transferred later to a specialization center, if you can get stabilized in the emergency room of your local hospital and flown or by ambulance to a specialization center, which would be better. I hope, as when I created the Economic Development Committee, I wrote that ordinance. I'm the chairman of that committee, and some, I believe, wanted to oppose it, but it didn't look good to be against economic development. And so it passed by a unanimous decision. And I'm hoping that the presentation of maintaining a county-owned hospital will get at least the support it deserves and the acknowledgement and recognition that it deserves. I don't mind questions about it, and I think that's their duty to ask questions. But if we have a plan that will work, I don't see why they shouldn't support it. But my experience is that they will fight it.
Sometimes politics trumps what's right. That's unfortunate, and we really cannot afford it. Well, we're glad to have you again, and I want to move on. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I don't think you're going to get as much opposition this time around as you normally get. And again, shame on those that do oppose. And if you do oppose, what Mr. Bass is talking about, and present a plan of your own. And but again, he talked about responsibility of you, the public, coming out and pushing these things. He said to come to the quorum court meeting and pack it out. Quorum court meetings are held every third Tuesday. Every third Tuesday of the month. It's at 9 o'clock. It is in the quorum court room in the Clinton County Courthouse that's in Marion, Arkansas. So take the time to get involved. Just because you have voted, your responsibility does not end there. Let's go on and speak briefly about the upcoming voting season. As you know, what used to be the May primaries has now been moved back to March since the Republicans are in office. I don't know exactly why they've done that. Some suggest that they want to make it harder to vote now. But voting day is going to be in the dead of winter, and we have a problem getting a lot of people out to vote. So, if voting is if they got to get out in the cold, so it's probably going to be a low voter turnout. And don't get that confused with the presidential election that's going to come up in November of next year. These primary votes the primary election is on March the 1st, 2016. And those of us that are running, and I'm one of the ones, we had to have gotten been filed for that office by November the 9th. So we've already done that. What you want to talk to us about any of the people running, or you want to talk about trying to get people in office that you think that are going to be more responsive to doing the right thing by the community?
Well, let me say this, that the people that I work with now, as you know, have not been very easy to work with in terms of doing what is in the best interest of their communities, okay? So I endorse a new group of candidates that are running, with yourself included. So, and I can say this, and whether I had opposition or not, I would still say it. So, go to my Facebook page. If you're in Crittenden County, you can go to Hubert Bass, just HUBERT BASS, and we have those candidates on the page and on your page as well. So if you're on Facebook, go to our Facebook page, and I'm constantly doing something to endorse you all and put you all out there, because what we need right now is competent leadership and people that can go in office and stand on their own 2 feet and have the resolve to get things done in the community.
People that's not in somebody's pocket.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and there may be some that are not in anybody's pocket on there, but they're certainly auditioning to be.
Oh, that's an interesting term. Now let's talk briefly before. I don't know how much time we got left here.
8:40.
We got no time left.
It's up there.
Okay, how much time do we have left?
You can get done. I got 3 minutes.
Okay. All right, well then I guess we'll have to close it out. I did want to talk about to warn people, people who come around to nursing homes, these elder care facilities, and want to get those people signed up for absentee votes. That could possibly be a crime. You can get into voter fraud, you can get into voter coercion, and all those kinds of things. Right now, our Democratic Central Committee chairperson, Jane Pulliam, has been one of the main people who does this. I would warn you to stay away from that.
Well, let me say that too. Are we off?
Yeah, I think our time is up.
Okay.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to come out and speak tonight. And so we're going to hand you back over to the AGAPE people.
All right. You have just heard from Shabaka Afrika and Justice Hubert Bass. Turn your mic on. As they are talking about the new Crittenden County Hospital, or the Crittenden County Hospital to be. Now, don't forget, we are here every Monday night, and you can reach us at AGAPE WM on Facebook, or our pastor's number is 901-217-1727. Our church number is 870-702-7008. And we are located at 1823 East Broadway in the city of West Memphis. Now, there's one other thing. Don't forget, we are a nominated person or church for Church of the Year for the Heritage Award, which will be held in Forest City, Arkansas on January 2nd. We're asking you to go online, go to the Heritage Gala Award and vote for us so that we can be the Church of the Year. We are already considering ourselves Church of the Year. We are claiming it in the name of Jesus, and we are asking you to vote for us. So don't forget the Heritage Gala Award. We are in the 9th slot under Church of the Year. So don't forget us. Please vote for us. And don't forget our Christmas morning service, which will be held Christmas morning at 8 a.m. So come out and get your word for the day, Christmas morning. Now, our regular service are held at 9 a.m. for Sunday school, 10 a.m. for morning service, and 7 p.m. every Wednesday night is our Bible class. And this is our time. You have been watching the AGAPE Christian Center Hour. Thank you, and you have a very good evening.